Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Your Mark on the World show. I'm your host, Devin Thorpe, and our guest today is Ben Block, the CEO and founder of GozAround. Ben, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Devin.
I should say welcome back. We are excited to have you back on the show today, but you've kind of pivoted a bit from when you were here before with GozAround. Tell us a little bit about what's going on with GozAround.
Sure. When we first met, we had this concept around connecting volunteer organizations and nonprofits with the people they need, and that's still a huge part of what we're doing. But originally, I kind of had this like loyalty program for volunteers built in and this sort of reward system. But I found as I got out there that wasn't really resonating with people, and it's kind of one of those things that, in retrospect, you go, yeah, duh, maybe that people don't volunteer to get rewards. And that was like a big undertaking to manage. So when that wasn't really hitting, we sort of let that go by the wayside. But what's really exciting is as we spoke to businesses about how they could be involved in GozAround, they started to say to me, we have big employee volunteer programs and that we're out in the community a lot, but we struggle sometimes with engaging our staff, letting them know what's going on, measuring those activities. So, who's helping who, what kind of causes are we getting involved in? And then lastly, kind of sharing that out with whether it be their customers, their employees, or shareholders, or whoever might be interested. So we've sort of moved into this corporate platform that I'm really excited about.
Well, it is an exciting place. It seems like it's a place as an entrepreneur where you'll have more opportunity to monetize this as well. What is the revenue model? How do you earn some revenue from this?
Yeah, that's exactly right. And probably our most common question of when you're running a site for volunteers. But basically, we structure it as a SaaS, to use the industry term, but basically a software as a service. So a subscription model that an employer would subscribe on a monthly or annual basis, and the fees are just dependent on the size of the company.
Fantastic. Why do companies need this software, this service?
Yeah, I think kind of just alluding to what I was saying is the data will tell you that the vast majority of businesses out there or employers are running these kinds of programs and investing their sort of human capital and their financial capital into them, but sometimes have issues sort of measuring those or quantifying the impact that they're generating or understanding the positive outcomes that are coming from them. So we see we got analytics for everything from our websites and personal finances and everything, but this CSR space, I think, can benefit from it greatly. And I think a lot of the businesses taking part in those activities just don't have a great tool. So that's what we're trying to solve.
It is, I think, a great opportunity for companies to sort of automate, streamline, and focus their efforts. Can companies use this with existing programs or only with new programs? How do you see that working?
No, we are really flexible in that way. So we sort of leverage the network side of what we're doing. If they don't have a lot of existing programs, they can get in touch directly with nonprofits that are participating, or see even individuals, to find the needs or opportunities that might work for them. But on the other hand, if they already have charity partners or employee initiatives or even employee-driven initiatives, it's a place that they can post those, invite sign-ups from their employee staff, or even I've kind of got this idea that why don't companies reach out to the public and have joint staff customer engagement or service activities. So it's a place to manage either what they're doing now or look for new opportunities.
You hit on something I think is very important. I just finished writing a book about CSR, and one of the conclusions that I came to is that it's equally important to engage your customers and your employees. And so it's interesting that your tool will allow people to use both.
Yeah, I hope that happens. I just kind of have this idea that wouldn't it be a great experience for the staff? Like, okay, we know volunteering together brings people together, is a good team building, culture building thing, and we know CSR has a branding component and that, but what an interesting thing it would be if your staff were alongside your customers in some sort of hands-on engagement activity. And talk about building relationships. I think if you have stood beside somebody, whether it's at a homeless shelter, a park cleanup, or whatever it might be. I think that's a memory that will stick with your customer for a long time, long past any advertisement might, or really engage your staff in their relationship with the customers.
It seems like there's really good data that volunteering makes people feel good. Seems like it would really make sense for you, as you say, to want to have that warm, fuzzy feeling, if you're a corporation, have that associated in some way with your brand.
Yeah, absolutely. And I personally have a bit of a fascination with how we can use the internet to generate like real world relationships and outcomes. And it's kind of what I hope to do with GozAround. But that would be an interesting real world outcome, is that warm and fuzzy kind of relationship building that would come from doing some good together.
So, Ben, the tool also has some social media things. And I think this is interesting for corporations as they ultimately are trying to enhance their brand by empowering. Is it the volunteer level participant? Are they able to use the social media tools in the app?
Yeah, then that's kind of what we try and encourage, is at the end of every project or activity, we invite the individual employee volunteer to share that through their own social networks, and we can tag it with the company and even the organization that they've been involved with. So it brings kind of that social recognition to, of course, the company, but also the group that they were benefiting, and probably most of all to the individual person who took time to go do it. So it's kind of a triple pat on the back for everybody. And I think, as you say, allows the companies to leverage their employees' social networks for this kind of branding benefit that comes with.
I think it's an interesting aspect, because I think people may be more reluctant to brag about their donations than they are about their volunteer efforts. There's a social thing. If you're out volunteering, it's evident. People can see you. It's public inherently. So sharing that doesn't feel as uncomfortable. Sharing a donation you might make, I think, feels uncomfortable to a lot of people. So it seems like you've hit on a nice thing for sharing and building that social capital.
Yeah, and then I think kind of parallel to that even is, I think sharing a donation doesn't really, like, there's no story to a donation really. But if I'm out and I've done something, there's a story to that. Like, who did we help? What did they look like? What did I actually do? And that's kind of what we try and say, is a lot of these companies that I see, or at least as a consumer out there, see information of like, X million hours donated, but it doesn't mean anything really. It sounds like a lot. That's about all I can say. But if we can help these companies generate what I like to call sort of organic, story-based impact, social media content, then I think it's so much more meaningful to whoever is consuming that content. So I think it fits exactly what you're saying.
Well, terrific. Ben, I want to just get a couple of personal insights from you. As you become a successful social entrepreneur, you become a role model to other people. My question to you is, who do you look up to? Who's your role model?
Sure. I think me and about a million other entrepreneurs might say we look up to guys like Richard Branson. I admire what he's done in terms, obviously his business success speaks for itself, but he's out there kind of just doing good things, supporting the entrepreneurship community, supporting the social entrepreneurship community. I've read some blog posts he's done about just the power of businesses committing themselves to social causes, the power of volunteerism. So I feel like he's managed to obtain massive sort of business, traditional quote unquote successes while maintaining this kind of wider worldview. So that's something I could aspire to and certainly look up to.
Fantastic. I think that is a great, noble example. I talked to Richard's head of his Virgin Unite, his nonprofit, about it, and it is clear he's got a deep passion for making the world a better place. So I think you've chosen a great role model. I'm wondering, Ben, as I look at what you're doing, you're an attorney, and I realize you've got a lot going on in your world, but why do you care about this volunteerism thing? And I get that it's good. I get that we should all volunteer.
Mm-hmm.
What I want to get at with this question is why you care about it. What's your connection to it? What's your motivation?
Right. I guess there's that like Steve Jobs quote of seeing the stepping stones of your life and how they connect in retrospect. But I think that I can look back and see there's a number of things that have sort of happened that have led me to why this is a great opportunity for me personally, that my wiring is to help out when I can, and I get a lot of just personal reward out of that. And I've had sort of personal examples of seeing how good it can feel to do something as small as pull over and drag the piece of debris out of the road that everybody's having to drive around. But also the disappointment that can come if you for some reason don't do that little thing. And we probably don't have time for the whole story, but once a guy came up to me and asked me for some food in a fast food restaurant, or he asked for some of my fries, and it just kind of, I was a student at the time, and it caught me off guard, and for some reason I said, no, I don't think so. And then I watched him go ask somebody else for that same thing, and she got up and took him and bought him dinner. And that's what you do in that moment. And I just felt like such like disappointment in myself to have been kind of closed off to such an easy opportunity to help somebody. And so like those are two easy examples that I can think of that just showed me personally, or taught me personally, the power of just doing something when you can. And I just have this belief that we all have those things that are like life altering potentially to someone else and are maybe no big deal to you. We just need a better way to get involved and to use those. And so that's kind of where this idea came from. And I'm just an entrepreneur at heart, and it sort of came into this stew of experience and wiring and interest and all that, that just when this idea came along, I just decided, okay, this is it. I gotta go for it. I think I'll regret it if I don't.
Yeah, I love the French fry story because it makes such a powerful point. I think we all have those experiences once in a while. I remember encountering one of my homeless friends last Christmas time. Cold, rainy night. It was just miserable, and I didn't find a way to help him that night, and I have on other times when it was easier and more convenient for me. And that night, as I thought about it, it was an easy night. I could have, should have helped him. And I think those opportunities, bad as they are on some level, are helpful to us because they remind us that no matter how much good we've done, sometimes we don't do all we could or should. And so they're powerful moments.
Yeah, I agree. I think you don't have to say yes to everything all the time, but it's just, I know for in that experience, and probably for you, it just wakes you up to remember to keep your eyes open and your ears open and your heart open to if there's an opportunity, maybe you can do something, and don't say no so quickly. So that it made a huge impression on me, and it's interesting to hear you've had a similar experience.
Sure. Well, Ben, we ask all of our entrepreneurs to give us, before they go, an impact hack, some tip that we could use to do more good in the world. What do you suggest?
I think I was thinking about that, and I don't know if it goes necessarily to the impact world exactly, but for me, this is, especially early on, I now have been fortunate to have some angel support in that, but when you're trying to get off the ground as a social entrepreneur, it can be tough, and you don't often have all the resources you need. And something I would recommend is and that's been a big help to me, is just the various crowdsourcing tools out there on the internet, whether it's freelancer sites or Fiverr or these different kinds of things, to think and look if there's a lower cost option that you might be able to tap into the talent you need to help get your idea off the ground. And I think that without those things, I would have had a hard time getting as far as I did. So that would be my impact hack.
Excellent, excellent. Well, Ben, I sure appreciate you taking the time to be with us today. Before you go, tell us how people can learn more about GozAround and connect with you.
Sure. You can go to gozaround.com, GOZAROUND.com. You can email me, ben@gozaround.com. And really anybody is welcome on GozAround, whether you're an individual, a nonprofit, or a business. We have profiles for everybody to be able to track what you're doing in the world. So though we've talked mostly about the corporate side, we'd appreciate the involvement and participation from really anybody and everybody. The more we have, the more powerful the network gets. So, but always welcome or happy to connect with people. So drop me an email or find me on Twitter anytime.
Fantastic. Well, Ben, again, thank you very much for being with us today. We wish you every success in getting GozAround scaled up.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me back, Devin.
Let's do some good.